Radio X Info.
Letztes Wochenende haben wir im Rahmen der Kunsttage Basel 2024 die Möglichkeit gehabt, mit dem Direktor der Kunsthalle Basel, Mohamed Almusibli, zu reden. Im Gespräch mit ihm ist es um die neue Ausstellung Time as a Shield von der Künstlerin Sandra Mujinga gegangen. Ihre überdimensionalen Installationen stellen baumartige Wesen dar, die fast wie aus einer anderen Welt wirken. Beim Betrachten kommt man nicht darum herum, sich die Frage zu stellen, what could they say if they could speak? Die Frage zieht sich durch die gesamte Ausstellung. Doch lasst uns direkt ins Gespräch mit dem Mohamed Almusibli eintauchen, wo uns einen vertieften Einblick in die Ausstellung Time as a Shield von der Künstlerin Sandra Mujinga gibt.
So nice that you could make it today. It's always a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. Yeah.
So yesterday you had the Kunsttage Basel opening with the show of Sandra Mujinga. How was it?
It was great. It was such a special moment, I think, to see everybody kind of coming together to celebrate her vision and, seeing like Sandra's family traveling from Norway or her friends coming from New York, especially for the occasion. I think it was a very special moment for all of us.
And it was also her first solo exhibition that she did in Switzerland, and she's like doing it in Kunsthalle Basel.
Exactly. It's like, funny enough, it's the first time that she exhibited in a solo exhibition in Switzerland. But Sandra has had like numerous institutional solo shows in the past. She was part of group shows at the MoMA, at the Guggenheim. She was also part of like the last edition of the Venice Biennial. So it kind of like makes sense that her first experience in Switzerland will be at Kunsthalle Basel.
And how does it feel like to be the host of this first exhibition of her in Switzerland?
You know, I didn't know Sandra before. We met like working on the show, and yet it feels like we've met like years ago. We really created like a special bond, and I think her being very generous to me and explaining like her vision and like her research really allowed me and like the whole team at the Kunsthalle Basel to be the best host possible for her.
And I mean, like the exhibition that she did called Time as a Shield was like specially designed, like constructed for the Kunsthalle Basel, right?
Exactly, yeah. There was like all new works, and the whole exhibition and all the works were thought for the Kunsthalle. It came because when she received the invitation, she came for a site visit, and then she really was inspired by the space, not only like the architecture, but also like the feeling that you get, and more precisely like the sound. She was like hearing her footstep resonating in the space, and that inspired her to make the work that she did.
Let's talk about her work. Themes like body, technology, surveillance are a central topic of her new installation. How are they like embodied in the installation?
Yeah, I mean, for this exhibition, she took the concept of like bearing witness, like in particular, and she took like the figure of the tree as like the perfect witness in the world, and like trees have been standing for centuries also, and just kind of experimenting and witnessing climate change, conflicts, but also like structural damages. And she relates them a bit like our elders in some communities who are like been there and like who holds a certain wisdom. Yet trees are silent. And for Sandra's exhibition, she decided to create these trees, but also to give them a voice, not only one, but a full choir of voice.
So kind of when you say trees are silent, like a silent observer.
Yeah, exactly.
Of history, of time, of...
But what could they say if they could speak? That's a bit the question she asked. And I think her answer is not about speaking, but more singing. So in the exhibition, when you enter the first room, you will see like 4 meters high sculptures of trees, and each emitting a voice and coming together as a choir. And you could like, it's a 43-minute loops of a song, or more like of a melody that she composed with different voices.
I also read the text for the exhibition, and I bumped into the line, it might be also kind of disturb the installation. Why that?
I think not only the installation, but the whole experience of the exhibition, because it is quite immersive. You enter and like this beautiful space of the Kunsthalle is quite like resonating with the sound, so it's quite taking. And then she also thought of like putting like some benches so people could sit and really get like imprinted by the sound. But then furthermore, you travel, or like you continue your journey in the exhibition, and then you also are getting more deeply into some like sort of intimate space. In particular with the last room of the exhibition, that is titled Grief, and is a figure that is not a human figure, but not also one of the tree figures. It's kind of like an in-between. And she was seeing like this figure standing alone, isolated in the last room, as in the process of becoming one of the tree and the process of grieving. And she was also talking about how grieving is a solitary kind of experience, but yet it's also a communal one. And I think could maybe, I mean, it's disturbing, but like in a good way.
There are also like photographies in the room. So how it works together?
Yeah. So the second room of the exhibition is a series of 6 portraits. And when you first enter the the room, you might think that it is this portrait of the same person. But looking a bit more closely, you realize is that there's something quite a bit strange about them. And it is in fact because all of these portraits are constructed by Sandra. So she took like photos of her friends and families and kind of like cut some part of the faces to assemble it into a new one, into like 6 new faces. And there's something quite uncanny about it. You see that like sometimes like the tones is kind of different, but this is a series of work that she did since 2020, and it's also kind of like engaging with the new technologies in today's world, and also thinking about like how great are technologies, but how also biased they are, and in particular how like this like facial recognition technology is biased because it could not recognize people with a darker skin tone. So it was also like a sort of a commentary to it. She was also it was at the same time with the rise of the deepfakes, and kind of like thinking about how it is to create like new faces or like fake faces, basically.
So it's also maybe like science fictional, which is already a reality kind of?
I mean, her work is very inspired by science fiction, yeah. Like from the trees to the grief sculpture to the portraits there. It's very inspired by some sort of science fiction, but also like a sort of a philosophy or like a theory movement that belongs to the Afrofuturism movement, and like thinking of a new way of living for people from African descent.
Du hast gerade das Interview mit dem Kunsthalle-Direktor Mohamed Almusibli über die neue Ausstellung Time as a Shield von der Künstlerin Sandra Mujinga gehört. Die Ausstellung Time as a Shield von der Künstlerin Sandra Mujinga kannst du in der Kunsthalle Basel bis am 10. November besuchen. Für Radio X, der Nahum Mehret.
Radio X. Info mit mehr Kontrast.
Präsentiert von der Sukoa, die Webagentur, die deine digitalen Visionen zum Abheben bringt.